Welcome to the Across the Pond Sports Network's WNBA podcast, Across the Pond Liberty. Each week, we will cover the 2023 New York Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirstin.
Okay. And starting off our first episode, we've got big news because earlier today, Sabrina Ionescu just signed her 2-year extension deal worth over $200,000. So Sabrina's here, securing their first number one pick. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be absolutely awesome. I mean, it's great to have that kind of news coming in. First of all, for Sabrina to have signed such like a big deal contract, I feel like it's been kind of a long time coming. Everyone's been expecting it, and it's nice to see her kind of hit that milestone. But it's also great to know that she's secured her position in the team for the next 2 years. So hopefully, big things to come, particularly this season with all the new signings. Let's see how it kind of continues on next season as well.
I'm excited. I remember when the WNBA draft happened, not even just drafting her, but the lottery when they got the number one pick, because I mean everybody knew that they were gonna get her. And then her first season, she in the wubble breaks her ankle after she had like a killer game. And so she only got like two, not even three full games, just 2 games before she got hurt. And just been waiting for Sabrina to like shine and all-star last year and got some triple doubles. It is just super exciting to have that since they wanted to start basing their team around her and everybody coming together. It's some of the most exciting news they've had, and the fact that it happened today and we're recording today just makes it nice to
Yeah,
talk about that we have
it's
brand new
icing on the
news.
cake.
Oh yeah, it is great. um, well, also this week, yesterday, I got a chance to watch this. I know you didn't. The Unfinished Business documentary about the New York Liberty premiered on ESPN, and it kind of just detailed the beginning of the team when they were in the finals against Houston to the young team making the playoffs in 2021. And so it kind of like is catapulting to what they're going to do this year because they kind of put that in the credits about all the signings they had, so everybody can just feel the excitement of the Liberty again with this super team this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I've still not seen the documentary. I know it's just kind of aired yesterday, but no, I'm super excited to watch it, and I think it's a good way to kind of set them up and hype them up for this season. It's nice to see a little bit of, I suppose, campaigning coming up to it, giving a bit more hype around their name. Hopefully, letting people know that the Liberty are here to fight this season.
Oh, and it, I know you haven't had a chance to watch it because it's brand new, but it was funny in the documentary because they had Lobo and Teresa Weatherspoon in it, and a couple other players from like the early years, Sue Wicks. Um, but you saw clips of Becky Hammond a little bit in it, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I was like, "Ooh, she was a staple of the
Mhm.
Liberty," and we'll see what happens with Becky this year, since that could be a big rival for the Liberty. Hopefully, it'll be a big rival for them.
Yeah, I think it's very much anticipated this season. I mean, anywhere you look, any news outlet, any social media page that's talking about WNBA this season, everyone is saying it's going to be Aces, Liberty. Those are the two contenders for the season. So I mean, it's also great. Like we've started this Liberty show, and we have the Aces show as well. I think we've kind of jumped on this kind of bandwagon that there is these two super hyped teams have like amazing trades, had, well, for the Aces especially, had a really great season last season. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting season to see how it plays out, and I really, I fancy the Liberty's chances.
Oh, I I'm with you. I know that last year on one of the podcast episodes, Miles Ehrlich, who's a beat writer, would always come. He came on to the podcast with Michelle and James and talked about how the Liberty were missing like a few pieces here and there because they were so young, and it was just nice to see that podcast and what he said on it and what Michelle and James were talking about kind of come to fruition with all these players. I mean, how
Mhm.
many teams have two of the last four MVPs? I mean, Asia counts. Asia had two of them, so it's like two of the last three MVPs on a team. So it's like, here we go. We got Stewie and Jonquel. Let's do
Mhm.
this. So
And not just that,
that's
but the signing as well of Courtney Vandersloot. She's one player in particular that I just absolutely love watching. She's just such a strong guard, such a strong facilitator, and really like pulls it out of the bag in those kind of clutch moments. So as much as yeah, we have these like super great signings and like former MVPs, but we also have Courtney Vandersloot. Like I'm just so excited to see what she's also gonna bring to the team, how she's gonna play along with Sabrina. And yeah, especially like I mean, in my own experience, I kind of played a similar position to Courtney, so I naturally gravitate towards a kind of small, quite confident guard. So she's someone I'm gonna really enjoy watching the season as well.
it's and I love thinking about like Sloot just helping Sabrina out as point guards because they both had the same college coach. Because Kelly Graves coached Sloot in Gonzaga and then he went to Oregon. He had Sabrina. So I feel like Sloot being there and even though it's been a while for Sloot since she's been in college, that sounds bad. Sloot, I love you. If you ever watch,
You're
if you
still
ever
young.
listen, yeah, love you. But it's going to be interesting how much they will be able to learn from each other and how much they would speak the same language, how they play and how they interact and all kinds of things in practice that we won't know, but we could see on the
Mhm,
court because of the similar way that they play and how much they are just such pass first point guards.
mhm.
I mean, you have so many people to pass to.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. No, I think the intention for the season as well is that Sloot's gonna play the kind of lead point guard, and Sabrina's gonna essentially play more off ball. They seem to have come to the conclusion that Sabrina kind of plays better when she's more off ball. She's able to kind of receive, shoot kind of off whoever is facilitating that. So I don't think there's any really better role player to have played that position this season than Courtney. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what's coming.
yeah, I mean, instead of having like her wife to pass to as a 3-point shooter, just
Mhm.
hand it off to Sabrina, and then everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a lot of expectations since the youth has had a couple years. They've made the playoffs the past 2 years after going 2-20 in the Wubble and just kind of being like, ooh,
Mhm.
let's see what happens. They've made the playoffs the last 2 years, but one of the biggest things that I want to see on a turnaround for them is to have a winning record since they haven't had a winning record since 2017. And I think Bill Lambier was their coach then the last time they had a winning record, which, I mean, Bill's been through them, been through the Aces, and now, isn't coaching the
Mhm.
W anymore. And we need a winning record. It's not just playoffs, but let's win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they ended with a kind of mediocre record last season. I think it was like 16 to 20. But I think as well, like what we kind of spoke about before recording was just how young the roster was. It's kind of similar to the way that like Fever are just now. Very young roster at the time, and certainly seeing that their plans are to develop that roster and kind of hopefully get better as the years go on. So this season, with that kind of young roster, like Ionescu, for example, who they've gotten used to the W. Not that it took her long to do that, in all fairness, but kind of gotten used to the vibe. Everyone knows their kind of role in the team. Plus now the addition of all of the new players that they've got this season are really going to add a lot of depth to the bench that they were kind of lacking in previous seasons. I know certainly one thing they kind of struggled with was the rebounds in particular. Kind of most games they were really falling short on the rebound side, and I think with the additions to the team, I mean, it was evident in the game against I think it was the Sun that they played preseason game. They did lose, but they did ov- I think they bet them in terms of rebounds by like 4. um, and even at that, their offensive rebounds in comparison to the Sun were crazy. It was something like 3 for the Sun and like 20 or something for the Liberty. It was really crazy. So it's exciting to see that even in the preseason, in that game where they didn't have Jonquel playing, they didn't have Brianna playing yet, they only lost by a small margin, and you can really tell they kind of share share the playing time a lot. They have a lot of depth to their bench who can fill in, and they're not relying on even like their two MVPs. They're not super reliant on them from the outset. So it's going to be so exciting to see what they can do when they add these like role professional amazing players that they've added to their roster.
And I just kind of look through the roster and how tall they are. Like adding Stewie, you're
Mhm.
6'4". You got John Quell who's 6'5", 6'6". You know,
Mhm.
Big Mama Steph Dolson, which I will refer to her as Big Mama Steph all the time. Thank you for
Okay.
Instagramming it, Steph Dolson. It's just so perfect because she is one of the most entertaining people there
Mhm.
is in the W. She's 6'5", and then you got Han, who's 6'10", who started to develop at the end last year. And all I think is, how much longer can these women be for this
Mhm.
team? Like, try to pass through everybody with their long arms, and then
Mhm.
Han made some threes last year. Steph Dolson can make some threes. Stewie can shoot, wherever she is. And then John Quell was in the 3-point shooting contest a couple of years ago during the All Star weekend. And so, like, have fun guarding all of them because you're
Yeah.
going to guard from the 3-point line to the post, just being huge. Besides the fact that we've talked about Sloot and Sabrina as just being the guards that are coming in, and it's just amazingly exciting what is possible for this team this year.
Mhm. And hopefully just with these great additions to the team, they will be able to turn over. It's only 4 games, only 4 from 16-20 last season. They just need to win a couple more games, and I don't think that is a lot to ask considering the players they've just signed. I will be
Mhm.
very, very shocked if this doesn't become their first winning season in a while. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. What is it? Because I know that last year, like the 4 and 5 were like 22 and 14. I want to say like the Storm and the Mystics, and so that's 6 games, and they started off. It's like 1 and 7, 1 and 8 when they were just trying to figure it out and figure out Sandy and the coaching staff, and putting that together and just going and having a positive season after that start. But oh, and also there's a 40-game WNBA season, so having the depth of the bench, which you spoke of earlier, is going to just add so much to him once everybody gets back from playing overseas and gets settled and goes, because it's a long season. So even more, that's how the veterans and the youth are just going to go, because the young players are used to it and the veterans know how to like preserve their bodies over a season, especially with a couple extra games. And I mean, hopefully, they'll have the Commissioner's Cup game that they're playing in to get all that money.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. It's high hopes for the season, and certainly very, very strong looking team.
Yep. Well, the past 2 years they've gone 1 and 3 in the playoffs. 2 years ago they lost by one to Phoenix, who made it to the final. Last year beat Chicago in the first game. Chicago was the 2 seed with the new playoff format, and then lost the next two. But because they won the game, they got to host a playoff game. So that's exciting, with everybody getting a taste of it. And then, like we've talked about, all the championship experience with Sloots won a championship. Dolson's won a championship. Stewie's got two. John Quell has been in two final series. Everybody's just, it's bubbling up to just explode, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, certainly that's a really good point you made actually with they as much as they may not have progressed terribly far in the playoffs recently, but most of the players on this team have had a taste for the playoffs. They understand kind of the competitiveness, the hustle that needs to be shown in these games, and just kind of the expectations. So it's really great coming into it that not only has like everyone had a taste for the playoffs, but we have so many experienced playoff players who can come in and just give them that edge and just carry them hopefully that little bit further than they have in the previous seasons.
Yeah. And Sandy's got a championship as a coach, and her and her husband get to coach together because 2 years ago he was on the Chicago as an assistant on the bench for Chicago, and she was there for Phoenix. So we've got the united front of a married couple coaching together. So even just that adds to more chemistry. So we're
Mhm.
talking about playoffs. What do you think are going to be, or who do you think the teams are that are going to be in the finals, and teams that you think could be surprise uh, teams that make it into the playoffs this year? Because everybody's talking about Aces and Liberty. Who else do we think could get in there? And do we think that it's just done for Aces and Liberty? Because I think that could make everybody else mad. That everybody's just going, "Oh, it's Aces and Liberty, of course."
Yeah. No, right. I don't think that it's a done deal. It can never be a done deal. If you come into a season in a league where you're like right off the bat, I know who the two finalists are going to be. It's no fun. It's not entertaining to watch a sport like that where the league is just completely dominated by certain teams. Um, so no, I don't think that it is just kind of right off the bat, hands down. It's going to be Liberty. It's going to be Aces. I think it's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be some very close games. Um, and I think in on paper that is how it should turn out. But we all know that life doesn't work on paper. So
Paper's
um,
stupid.
yeah. What I would say honestly, I don't even think this is much of a shock to say, but a team certainly to look out for and not to forget about is the Connecticut Sun. They did very well last season. I know they have lost one of their kind of star players in Courtney Williams, but I mean, even seeing this preseason game against the Liberty, they really came out. The second quarter it was like 20 points to 3.
Oh
They
yeah.
blew them out in that second quarter, and that's kind of what lost the Liberty the game. But I just think I think of the Sun and I just think of hustle, like tough defense, aggression, just a real solid kind of fundamentally strong team. So I certainly I think it's not a shock to say, but they're definitely gonna be one to watch and not a team at all that should be overlooked this season.
I like what you say about the Sun, and uh, listening to James and Michelle's old podcast when the Sun played the Sky last year. It looked like the Sky just fell apart in some games, and the Sun were just like, "We got this." And Michelle Snow talked about how the Sun, their players are bullies. Like when they see blood,
Mhm.
like they're gonna rip into you. And Alyssa Thomas is healthy. Dewana Bonner is healthy. Bree Jones is just signed. Bree Jones is the post player. There's no John Quell in there anymore. I mean, I know Jasmine Thomas is gone, but she was gone all last year, and they still made the
Mhm.
finals because she was hurt. And so I'm like, I love Jasmine Thomas so much. But Natisha Heidemann stepped up, and so you
Mhm.
have a core of, Dewana has been an
Yeah.
MVP contender before, and I am just always just impressed by how much she does. And then Alyssa Thomas will do everything. Talk about another triple double waiting to happen. And Bree Jones, how do you move her out of the paint? She is just
Mhm.
solid as a rock. And so I love the Sun. My other team is just, I just think the Mystics could be so dangerous with, it's Deladon and
Mhm.
Shakira, second year there, and Natasha Cloud wants to fight like on the court all the time. It's
Mhm.
just there's always something about the Mystics that I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah.
if
Mhm.
because you talked about fundamentals, I see them in that. And the other team I'm very curious about, don't know on playoffs, but I want to see what Kurt Miller, since he's gone from the Connecticut Sun to LA, how he's going to revamp the Sparks. Because I mean, they won the title in 2016. Neck is still there. They have Jasmine Thomas now, and when Hamby recovers from pregnancy, from having her second child, I want to see what the Sparks are going to do because they haven't made the playoffs recently, and they are a staple of one of the original eight. And so I want them kind of back in because I can't not help rooting for NECA all the time.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, NECA's one of my favorites. I got to meet her a couple of years ago. I will always be
Oh,
like, go NECA. Oh yeah, it was, and I was wearing her shirt too. I'll show you the picture.
yeah, you
Yeah,
should. You gotta show me it.
I'll show you the
Um.
picture. Yeah, yeah. But so
Yeah. No, I think.
that's what I'm interested in. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting take. I definitely 100%, I have to agree with you on the Mystics front. I think, again, like what you're saying, in terms of fundamental strength of a team, Mystics have that. I mean, having a healthy Dawn, and I love Natasha Cloud so much. I like she's one player that has really stood out to me in terms of just like the energy that she brings, her attitude towards the game, her leadership. She's just such like an idealistic player, someone that I've just found it just really interesting to follow along. So yeah, no, I think they're going to be very strong contenders as well, and it'll be a really exciting season. I mean, again, like I said earlier, we talked a lot about Aces Liberty. They're kind of really set up to be this great team, the kind of two contenders this season. But you can't cast a shadow over the Sun or the Mystics, or maybe even there will be some other teams that come out and surprise us. But I think it's going to be a really competitive season. So yeah, it's going to be really fun, entertaining to watch.
We're gonna have to have a Natasha Cloud like 2 minutes because all the stuff they've done with Athletes Unlimited and getting that league going. I love her, and I love the fact that she wears number 9 because she's on cloud 9. Because I mean, it's just a perfect number for her. Like it's just something like very simple, but I'm like, I love that you wear number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of a dangerous, healthy Mystics team, that is who the Liberty open against on Friday in Washington. So first game for the Liberty is on the road versus the Mystics, and it is a Commissioner's Cup game. So we've got 10 games in the Commissioner's Cup, and they're starting right off. Teams are starting right off in the Commissioner's Cup, and those are games to fight for because you get all that extra money, so much
Mhm.
extra for everybody, so it just adds like a little bit more fight. So, we'll what do we got? Do we got the Liberty or we got the Mystics on Friday in this Commissioner's Cup game?
I
You've got Della Dawn that hasn't played overseas and she's healthy, and then we've got
think
tired players coming back from overseas. What is that gonna do?
I think one of the advantages that the Mystics have, okay, bar injury, that they have over the Liberty is that they have played together. A lot of them have played together for such a long time. They kind of have that like cohesiveness. They understand each other better. They understand how each other plays. I think they kind of have that advantage over the Liberty, just basically time spent together. But again, I'm gonna say it like I think on paper, again, we say about on paper, but I think Liberty should win this game. And I know it's an away game, but it would just be a really, really great way to kick off the season. I don't think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a very close game though. I think it's gonna be swinging in and out, and we're kind of yet to see, like, I know we had some preseason games, but we had like Jonquel Brianna, like a lot of the new players still not actually playing together in a proper game yet, so it's hard to kind of judge how well integrated they are in the team. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say Liberty, but should the Mystics win, it will be totally on the basis that they just understand each other and have had much more time playing together. How about you? What do you think? What's your take?
I I oof. I think what you said about the chemistry could be very, very helpful and rested bodies. But the Liberty have the youth and the experience, and I could go either way on this one, and I'm kind of leaning a little bit toward the Mystics just because I feel like their bodies have a little bit more rest currently, which is tough to say, and the chemistry of it. They've played a little bit. They've got a little bit core that's used to each other, and I think that when we talk about Cloud and her kind of fighting spirit, I think she's going to be like, "Oh, you're supposed to be good this year, huh? Here we go." And I mean, not saying that everybody from the Liberty is not competitive. I mean, come on. Like, I think
Mhm.
Serena would bite someone's head off. Sabrina would bite someone's head off. I was just talking about Serena Williams, so I'm gonna mix it up. Sabrina would bite someone's head off, and everybody's super competitive. There's just something about Cloud right now that I feel like her and Deladon being back fully there, and just like I said, the rest is huge. It is huge.
Mhm.
So I'm leaning a little bit more toward the Mystics, but when you said, like, on paper, when we've said that a few times, how are the Liberty going to deal with the expectations of this year? Because after the Mystics, they have fever. So it's like, okay, we have this experience. So no matter what happens in the Mystics game, you can just beat up on the young kids, like the
Mhm,
experience, and then even though the Liberty's still rather young, they still have a couple years experience to be like, oh, welcome to the league. What's up? For the fever, no
mhm,
matter what happens in the Mystics game. So I definitely have Liberty against the fever in their home game. But that's going to be a thing for me this year is how much they can deal with the expectations of everybody on them. Because the Aces have had a year of living up to the expectations, so they're game. So how are the
mhm.
Liberty going to deal with it?
That's a great point. I think, it will it'll be a real mental challenge to kind of keep yourself, I suppose, grounded. It's very easy to get carried away in these kind of expectations, putting a lot of pressure on yourself. But I think, again, the team now is just so experienced. Like, yes, they have their very young core who have played many years together, and I can imagine these expectations, particularly for them, will be stressful. Will be a lot for them to kind of deal with and handle with, and probably quite a new experience for them. But I really think we have some of the most experienced players in the league. We have Brianna Stewart, who's in the W25, one of like top 25 best overall rated players in league history. Like, we have them. We have such a strong, experienced group of leaders in the team that I'm sure they've come up against these kind of pressures. I mean, Brianna, playing with Sue Bird, being in the Storm, having won championships with them, having had like Sue's last season.
Yeah,
She's been through that. She's been through all the pressure and she handled it well. I mean, she's been MVP. She's done so many things. And then even hitting on that, I mean, we have Sabrina, who was like number one draft. She was this amazing prospect, and she had so much pressure put on her. She had so much of the limelight. Okay, yeah, she got injured, but I mean, she was, I think, the record for the fastest ever recorded triple double in WNBA history in only 6 games. She's
yeah.
she's had those pressures and she's exceeded them. So I don't know. I think it's certainly something that I'm not gonna say it's not gonna challenge them. Like, that would phase anybody, even the most trained athletes. But I think they'll know how to handle it, and I'm not sure it's as much a case of pressure as it is just getting themselves integrated and used to playing with each other.
So it's more chemistry than expectations and pressure.
Yeah,
Well,
chemistry
and
is gonna be the big one.
oh yeah, and then Stewie and Steph playing at UConn. UConn always has pressure all the time.
Mhm.
Sabrina, when it comes to pressure, her senior year, NCAA tournament's taken away. And even before that, she was friends with Kobe Bryant. He dies, and then they go to the Wubble, and then her ankle breaks after she started it. That was like the worst year you could have come up with. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, got through that. Okay, then we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
And then in the Unfinished Business documentary, they had like a little part about Dee Richards from Baylor because she was paralyzed for a bit when they had the collision in practice. So you know,
Mhm.
she's she had to relearn to walk. So
Yeah.
pressure, they know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying about the chemistry. It's like I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, you have expectation pressures." Oh, they've had that their whole lives. They're good.
Mhm.
They'll see what the chemistry does. But yeah, and I have a little this one right there. Oh, there we go. Point
Oh,
right
yeah?
there. That is Billie Jean King, my little doll that I got. And Billie Jean King always said pressure is a privilege. So to have the
Oh,
pressure on them, that is a privilege because people expect great things of you. So I will
yeah.
always pressure's a good thing. Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
agree. Speaking of a basketball context, I
Yeah.
agree. When I'm doing my uni work, I work, and maybe this is just an excuse for leaving everything last minute. I work so much better under pressure, I swear. So pressure is a good thing.
Yeah. Was it pressure creates diamonds? Is that another one?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
exactly.
All the things. All right. Well, those. So before we end this, we have to just say who's going to be in the finals. who do we think is going to win? What's going to happen in the WNBA this year? We did a little bit of wondering our curiosities with the Sun and the Mystics coming back to be, the Sun could be the bullies, the Mystics, they're Mystics, Deladon's healthy, Natasha Cloud, and I'm wondering about the Sparks. I think Dallas could be good this year. They got a new coach. They're young. So who's gonna be in the finals? Who's gonna win this thing?
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say what everyone's thinking. I think NBA Finals is gonna be Liberty Aces. That's my take. If not this season, then Liberty Finals next season. But honestly, Liberty Aces for the finals this year. However, for the Commissioner's Cup, I just have as much as I want to say Liberty or maybe even Aces. I see it being a team like Washington or Connecticut, and I'm gonna throw this one out, and I'm gonna say I honestly think that I can't choose between Washington or Connecticut. Actually, I think it's gonna be one of those two teams, though. I think it's gonna be a little curveball.
I'm gonna go Washington then. I'll just say that. I
Washington,
think Washington
yeah,
can be in the Commissioner's Cup. That's gonna be my pick. I am a very big Della Don fan, and also Mike Tebow is retired, so Eric is taken over, even though he's been there for a while. So it's like, gotta prove yourself without your dad. See, another
mhm,
expectation. And
yeah,
I think and but they've had him as a coach. So again, with the chemistry with Washington and the core, so I think Washington's going to be in the Commissioner's Cup against Vegas.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I see
and
that. I think that's a good shout.
I think that, like, I love how I've said like paper is stupid, but I still think it's going to be, barring injuries, I think it's going to be the Aces versus Liberty in the final, and I think the Aces are going to win in five due to
Okay.
chemistry and
Mhm.
due to chemistry. That's what
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with. Due to chemistry. You brought that up and I'm gonna go with it, but I don't want to bet against the Liberty, so I'm not gonna say that. We'll see how the season goes and see how it turns around.
yeah,
But with John Quell only getting there twice and not winning, I think there's gonna be another hunger there, and the youth want to prove themselves, and Sluty is gonna be doing well, and then Stewie's back in her home state. There's a lot on that, but you have all that, and I would just love to see the Aces and the Liberty in the finals to have Sloot and Dolson, and then Candace Parker back in since they won for Chicago a few years before, just to have like that Chicago reunion in the final,
yeah,
especially because Sloot and Candace are, getting in. Candace is, well, who knows if Candace is ever gonna, if she's got a few more years because she had a great season last year, and same thing with Sloot and Dolson. But I know how close they were, so I'm like, I want to see the Chicago
mhm,
former players fight it out. So
yeah,
I'm saying Aces in five in the final, and the Liberties there, and the Sun and the Mystics are going to be in the semifinals, given all the battles with everybody. That's
yeah,
that's that's my top four this year, and then
yeah,
the next four, I have no idea.
yeah. Next
Um,
four is kind of like we'll see who starts off strong and kind of see how it goes. But yeah, no, I definitely think Washington, Connecticut, just again with that chemistry, that experience. I think particularly with the Commissioner's Cup, the fact that it starts like right off the bat.
oh
You
yeah,
have to be a strong team right off the bat if you want to compete in the Commissioner's Cup. And I just don't know, individually, Liberty, really strong team, but I just think their success this season is going to be from their progression as the season goes on. This is a game why I'm also kind of unsure about how the game's going to go against Washington this week, just because I want to say Liberty, but I just need to see how are they going to start the season off. How are all of their individual skills going to come together? And I don't have 100% faith yet that they're going to start off as strong maybe as is needed to win the Commissioner's Cup. Whereas I see that for some other teams. So, but we'll
it's
see.
it's the chemistry building. They got the extra games this year just to
Mhm.
build it up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but the Liberty is ready to go for. We're we need to track what is their record through June and then the record through July. to the
Mm.
end of it. That will be a big barometer of how much they're improving and how much all the chemistry's coming together. But first things first, they signed Sabrina. She's got over $200,000 a year on this 2-year extension. So all the pieces are in place. The future is looking bright. And the Liberty are kicking off their season this Friday against the Mystics, which, I mean, I think our podcast is going to be out on Friday. So they'll be playing
Mhm.
tonight. And then we will be ready to report on those 2 games and see if what we said is right. I hope to be wrong about choosing the Mystics, but we will figure that out next week. So, well, thank you for listening to our first episode of Across the Pond Liberty as a part of the Across the Pond Sports Network. And I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirsten.
All right. See you
See
next
you
week.
guys. See you next week.
All right. I will end the recording soon. So that was a solid 35 ish after that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
good.
went
Yeah.
for it.
So start about
Start strong.
4 minutes. Yeah, 4 minutes and then went. That makes it easy, but yeah, I'll have my mic next week. I just kept thinking about it when you said about the headset, about getting the
Yeah.
sound out, and
No,
that
I
just
didn't hear it at
feels
all during that
yeah.
recording. Like I heard it at the start before we start recording, but not at all. So it'll
And
come
then
up. It'll
it's
come
just
up for you.
yeah, just turn the sound down. So if I plug it in, that'd be just easier and just make
Yeah.
everything well. So yep. All right. Well, kick ass on your exam.
Thank you. Thank
Yep,
you.
you can do that. Yeah, kick ass on your exam. And are we doing Wednesdays next week for recording, or are we doing
Yes.
days, right?
Wednesdays are most ideal. I
Wednesdays.
can do it if
I don't.
Wednesdays like every week over summer. That really works for me best.
It's really good for me too because I coach a softball team and they practice on Wednesdays, so
Oh.
I don't work much in the afternoon on
Yeah.
Wednesdays. So about like anywhere starting from like 7 to 8 and going
Mhm.
on your time to like the 7 to 9 spot for you would be like one to
Mm.
three for me, and that's a perfect time. So
Yeah. No, that works for me. We've just ended up having our training session for summer booked in for like 6:30 to 8:30 on a Tuesday. So that kind of blew my plans of recording on Tuesday nights. So yeah, Wednesday works. But if there's ever like a Wednesday you can't do, just let me know because I am also pretty flexible.
gotcha. Yeah, and I'm pretty good too because I can clear up an afternoon to do this to make it easier. Oh, and then my background's gonna change. I may have like WNBA Barbie, and I'm gonna get it centered, and then over there, there we go. That's me and Pat Summit, so I may get that closer.
Oh, that's so cool. No
Yeah,
way.
like if we ever go on like James with Michelle, I'll be like, okay, and up. Yeah, me and
Oh,
Pat
that
Summit.
is awesome.
I
Oh
snuck
my
into a
gosh.
tunnel to get it, and because I would think I was 18 when that happened, but I looked like 15 or 14. And so I just remember I was like, they're not gonna kick me out. They won't hurt me. And I just hung out down there. And that was taken with an actual picture. So or actual
Yeah.
camera picture. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's so cool.
it was great. She signed a picture that kind of got lost in a problem with her home because I gave her the picture to sign, and she looked at it and then she realized it was a picture of us, and she asked me how to spell my name, and I forgot for like a solid 2 seconds. So I said it's Stacia, STA, and then she looked at me and I was like, how the fuck do I spell my name? I'm like, I don't know. Not kidding. That would be something to talk to Michelle about if we get on James and Michelle's podcast to be like,
Mm.
Michelle, how did you feel when those eyes are locked in on you? Because I was scared and she wasn't even telling me to
Yeah.
run. So yeah. So yeah. All right. I will let him know anywhere from I think it started about 4 minutes to
Yeah.
about 40. So we got 35. So I think that went pretty
That's
well.
awesome. That's
As a
way more than I was expecting.
and
I think that went really well as well. That kind of flowed really well.
yeah, I used to be a teacher, so I'm good about like having like an outline of what we want to talk
Yeah.
about, going from
No,
there.
that
If
works.
you
Like that's what James would do for like when I was doing some of the WNBA recordings, and it's such a like lifesaver just kind of knowing going into it what you're going to talk about, and you're not going to get blindsided by something you're kind of like not sure of. So no, I
well,
think that's a good plan going ahead. That we just kind of We can message in the group chat as well and be like, "Oh,
Yeah, there
this,
we go.
this, like, this would be good to talk about."
Well, and then when you're done with the exam, we'll just kind of like do that and just get an open Google Doc and
Mhm.
just keep adding to it. So then we'll be good to go during the time because I'm like sitting here, I'm like, sweet, we're hitting it, we're hitting it. This is easy, this is
Yeah.
easy. Boom, boom, boom. So, all right, well, that works. And James just messaged us. So, um, yeah. So if he wants to hop in, like, be like, hop in, hop back in. We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. So, have fun studying. I will probably send you a text on Thursday saying, "Yeah, you're done again."
Yeah, awesome. I look forward to it. Yeah, enjoy your week, and I will see you when we record next week.
Next week, next Wednesday. You said, what is
Mhm.
it? Half past seven? 30 past
Yeah,
seven? How do you say
yeah.
that?
Half half 7.
Half
7:30,
seven.
half 7. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. See you then. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.